Beethoven's final string quartet, his Opus 135, is in the key of F major. If you recall, F major is where it all started 20-some years ago with his Opus 18 number 1 in F major, bringing us back full circle. Opus 135 is the last major work Beethoven completed, with only the alternate final movement of Opus 130 being composed after this. The music of Opus 135 is a big departure not only from his previous style, but from the music of his late quartets as well. We have seen how the quartets in this late period have continued to expand and become more and more complex in terms of form and structure, harmony, and usage of chromaticism, as well as in the range of emotional output. Opus 135 harkens back to the more traditional four-movement format of his early and middle period. Textures are less dense, the counterpoint is leaner, and there are many more moments of lightness and levity without diminishing the emotional output and dramatic narrative in any way. It is as if Beethoven, after years of experimentation, finally found a way to distill his style down to its core elements. Scholars of music contend that if Beethoven had somehow managed to survive his many illnesses and continue to compose, Opus 135 would have heralded a new evolution, perhaps a fourth period of Beethoven's compositional style. The first movement starts with a simple interaction amongst the strings, each time instigated by a four-note question posed by the viola. Then comes a good-natured response. In unison, a rhythmically unified motive serves as a structural pillar, one that becomes expanded as the movement progresses. Beethoven uses these three basic elements as musical motifs throughout the movement in different forms and permutations. The movement never gets too serious or emotionally involved and remains gracious and genial throughout. The second movement, a scherzo, is a virtuosic tour de force full of wit, rustic charm, and folky flavor. It is full of wrong notes, wrong meters, and rhythmic jokes, difficult not only for the audience to discern where the beat is, but at times, the musicians as well. There is a section in the middle of the movement where the first violin just goes completely off the rails and gets lost in a series of syncopated leaps, while the three lower parts repeat a five-note rhythmic ostinato a total of 48 times. Jokes and surprises give way to the sublime third movement, the emotional heart of this piece. It is hymn-like and spiritual in the unusual key of D-flat major, a deep sonority that gives the movement a lush and dreamlike quality. The middle section, a series of tentative steps, exhalations, and sighs, punctuated by rests and silences, modulates to the parallel minor key, to the enharmonic key of C-sharp minor. It is an intensely personal, introspective movement, one that is worlds apart from the sunny key of F major of the previous movements. The final movement starts with a slow introduction, music that is fraught with tension and anticipation. The movement is headed "The Difficult Resolution" and introduces the inscription that Beethoven himself wrote in the manuscript, "Muss es sein," or "Must it be?" Perhaps Beethoven, the humanist, is posing an existential question. The answer finally comes in the faster, jubilant main body of the movement, the twice repeated exclamation, "Es muss sein," it must be, bringing a feeling of celebration and triumph to this final movement of Beethoven's final string quartet. Most of this movement is carefree, playful, and pleasant. However, in true Beethovenian fashion, he brings back the ominous question of the introduction towards the end of the movement, almost without any preparation. But lucky for us, this too is resolved, as these two elements cannot exist together. The movement ends with a coda, a teasing and playful affirmation, "It must be," this time with pizzicato. For a composer who was notably a curmudgeon and not one to really care about the opinions of others, Beethoven was concerned more with the concept of humanity as a whole and the uplifting of humanity and the human spirit. He strived to take our shared human experience with all its flaws and all its varied and complex emotions and express it somehow through his music. So I find it entirely appropriate that one of the last notes in the entirety of his vast oeuvre is inspired by the words "Es muss sein." Perhaps acceptance, perhaps triumph.